Back in the 1980s, I went down to the Hill to interview Dick Cheney about transitions and so forth, and I said, you know, what's the most important thing that a president has to do with respect to Congress? And he looked at me and said, don't sell the boat. And I said, what? Then I understood. The presidential yacht, which is called the Sequoia, was one of these things that Truman, maybe FDR, but certainly Truman and presidents since him, invited members of Congress down to float up and down the Potomac and play poker and drink bourbon and just schmooze. Nothing, no business, but just you know, personal relationships. Now Jimmy Carter, of course, you know, we've got the oil crisis, we've got to save money, so he sold the yacht, the Sequoia, in which in a sense was short-sighted, but it showed that he didn't understand that those small things in fact make a difference. Another horror story from the Carter administration, which may have a parallel this year, is that the water projects. So Carter was governor of Georgia, and he saw the Army Corps of Engineers come down and straighten out streams, lay concrete and all of this stuff. And he thought, you know, this isn't good for the environment, it's pork barrel, and I'm going to do something about that when I'm president. He was an engineer, and you know, he fiscal conservative, wanted to be tough, and so he calls over to the Office of Management and Budget and says, you know, send me over a list of those water projects. I'm going to take them out of the budget. And the OMB career people said, well, you know, these are kind of sensitive things. And Carter said, I don't care. I'm going to do what's right. So 19 water projects he picked out and axed. And he didn't even warn the members of Congress in whose district they were that it was going to happen. Well, of course, as Lee said, it just turned out to be a disaster. Those projects were later tacked onto a bill that Carter felt that he had to sign, and he lost a lot of goodwill with Congress over really a relatively small amount of money, which hurt him in the long run. So using up his political capital on this small stuff. Now, the potential here is earmarks, and certainly McCain would have been tempted, and Obama's talked about earmarks too. So there's, what about, you know, 11, 12,000 earmarks, amount to about $18 billion. Now, to you and me, that sounds like a lot of money, but compared to, you know, a federal budget, which is trillions of dollars, it's not very much at all. And these earmarks are something that members of Congress want. They see them as pork barrel, they can go take credit for them, they can, you know, get support from their constituencies. And so if President Obama spends a lot of political capital, you know, trying to deal with a relatively small amount of money, $18 billion, is going to irritate members of Congress, it's going to distract from whatever his main agenda is, and it'll be a mistake. And Carter did that, and hopefully Obama won't.